Northeast Streaming Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's another NFC East show, although it's only me. Everybody, who's got something going on with the kids over here, who's got something going on with work, who's stuck in traffic, it don't matter. I'm here, and that's all that matters. Because, we don't really care about them other teams anyways, since they didn't really make it to the Super Bowl. And I know that you guys haven't really heard from me in a little while, so I figured, you know what, rather than postpone again, I was just going to come on, do some talking, see how everybody's doing, and start to hash out a little bit about what had happened in the game, and what we got to look forward to. So obviously, it's been a few weeks. I don't know how everybody's feeling about the game. I was not as upset as other people were. Obviously, when you get there and you lose the game and it being so close, I wanted to. Um, I was a little more frustrated because they made mistakes. These two teams were like the best teams in the NFL. They really were, and the Eagles couldn't make the mistakes that they made and be able to get away with it. Like maybe the fumble would have been enough, to be able to overcome that. And they did. They were able to go down the next possession and score a touchdown. Not scoring a touchdown, not going for the end zone with 15 seconds left on the clock and just doing that 1 yard pass to Gainwell, I thought was a big mistake. I thought that they should have tried to get as many points as possible. And I felt that Kansas City was on their heels. So I think moving forward, Nick Sirianni is going to know that you want to go for the jugular there. You wanted to go in there with them being a little bit more dejected, uh, being down by 14 points rather than 10. That being said, they came out in the second half, and you can't really say one way or another, like who was the fault and, who was the problem. I can blame Gannon. I can blame a little bit of the equipment manager. I can think about, even the offense being a little stagnant in a couple of times. Obviously, that one series before they punted the ball was not a very good series at all. They didn't really do much of anything. And, so literally it was like Kansas City you felt the momentum start to change. They were able to score that touchdown quick. They were able to do a 3 and out, and next thing you know, we're punting the ball, and they get another touchdown. And then, yeah, of course, the fumble. The fumble recovery for the touchdown as well, but that was in the first half. So, but like those are the things that you just cannot have happen. You can't have those things happen, and it proved costly. Proved costly. That being said, obviously we are. I have a feeling this is just going to make them hungry. I They took a big step from last year. I at the beginning of the season mentioned that I thought that they were going to make it to the conference championship and lose there. The fact that they made it to the Super Bowl is like gravy for me. That being said, like I said, I wish that there was a lot more that they could have done. Like I said, they made some mistakes, and those mistakes proved way too costly. But such is life. And then we will go back at it again. And everybody can talk about that last call. Obviously, the frustrating thing about that call to me was that it was inconsistent with the rest of the game. It was like they didn't call anything. That referee didn't call one holding call or one pass interference call for like 560 plays, but then he decides to call on that play. So I felt that that was a little inconsistent. Obviously, it was a hold. They showed it. So I'm not faulting the referee for that. But really, we shouldn't have been in that position. We should not have been in that position. They actually, if everything had gone to the way that I would have suspected, that they score that touchdown in the end of the first half, they would have needed to score the touchdown there. So, and you don't play those games when you have to score a touchdown. They were tied up, and that's why they played the clock management game. But I'll be honest, when you got to score a touchdown, you're not waiting for the clock to get to a certain level. You better score that touchdown because you don't want to get stopped any way, shape, or form. You know, let's say we could go back a few Super Bowls when Russell Wilson decided he wanted to throw the ball rather than hand it off. Can't take touchdowns for granted. So, again, they did that play because obviously it was tied up at that point rather than it being a 4-point lead on our part. And I believe, like I said, had there been a 4-point lead, they would have had to score the touchdown. And then we would have at least had the opportunity to go run down there and try to either kick a game tying field goal or score a touchdown and win it on our own. So it was, there's a lot to be going over here. Obviously, Gannon is gone, and I'm okay with Gannon being gone. I am so happy with Gannon being gone. However, I'm interested to see who they're going to pick up in their defensive coordinator, their new defensive coordinator. I was excited to see Schwartz go. But be careful what you wish for because then we got Gannon, and Gannon doesn't even know how to spell the word blitz, let alone actually run one. So, and that was frustrating. All that was entirely frustrating all game long. Maybe just try to blitz somebody, one little bit. Nope, nope. Didn't want to throw any blitzes out there. Okay. Everybody's slip sliding all over the place. That's our issue. Everybody's, their cleats are all bad. Let's change. The pile of cleats were so, um, we're up high. It was like a mountain of cleats because they kept trying to change the cleats. But it was, you know, not enough. It was not enough. The defense needed to make one play, and they just did not do it in the second half. And it's frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating to be at that point. But like I said, I believe that Hertz was probably the MVP of that game. They don't do that anymore. They're not going to give an MVP to a losing team anymore, and that's because of Disney. And really that bothers the living hell out of me. Because realistically, they should have given the MVP to Jalen Hurts, and then whoever does the Disney, hey, Patrick Mahomes, you just led your team to the Super Bowl. Where you going now? I'm going to Disneyland, okay, or Disney World, whatever. You know what I mean? They didn't need to say, "Oh, you're the MVP of the Super Bowl." They could have did that. They could have gave it to Jalen Hurts and did exactly what they did back in the days when they gave it to Ray Lewis, and they didn't want Ray Lewis to be the one that actually did the commercial because he had just killed somebody. So they wound up getting the quarterback to do it. They're like, hey, Trent Dilfer, you just led the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl championship. What are you going to do now? So they could have done any one of those things and actually given the award to the right person, but they ain't doing that. You know what I mean? Because money is money, and that's really the truth of the matter. So really, those bets for MVP really should not have counted because although Patrick Mahomes played a good game, and you got to give the guy some credit, he gutted it out, and I don't care how many drugs he took in halftime. Because the truth of the matter is, I actually heard a really good rendition of what likely happened at halftime from somebody who works in a hospital and talked about exactly what it would need to have happen. And it was the process that he had to go through was uh, the at the halftime show was 37 minutes. It was a 37-minute break, and for what he had to go through, took 32 minutes, which gave him 5 minutes to get out onto the field, and that was all legit. Absolutely, FA. I'm not. Hey, listen, I don't care what they shot him up with. You know what I mean? Whatever drugs they gave him. Truth of the matter is, he still had to do everything that he did. So it doesn't matter what they gave him. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to cry about whether it was illegal or not because that doesn't matter a little bit to me. You know what I mean? Everything that they did was correct. So I'm not ever saying that whatsoever. However, I will say, if this was a normal game, they would never have had the time to be able to do it like that. This was because it was 37 minutes for the halftime show. And that's that. Again, this is some of the things that happened during the Super Bowl, and that's how he was able to get back out onto the field without the pain that he had walking into halftime. And that's the way it is. And that's absolute honesty. So, because we would have done the same exact thing if it was in Jalen Hurts was having the same problem. I'm sure Jalen Hurts also probably got shot up on that shoulder. So there's probably not much different that went on. But like I said, the process, when somebody explained the process in detail and explained it in the amount of time it would have taken, the amount of time for him to get everything, get the tape cut, get it all iced down, like in a flash freeze ice down, to have those metal rods where they push the swelling out, to then shoot it up with the lanacane. You got to wait 10 minutes the moment you shoot it up with the lanacane. And then you got to rub it down again, get the rest of the swelling out, go back and you start taping it up and you make it hardcore. You get a shoe on, get everything out there. That whole process was 32 minutes long. That gave him 5 minutes to throw the ball around once he got out there before the half started. And that's real. And that's a real thing. And so I was probably the best rendition that I had heard. And, that's, and again, doesn't matter what he took or how he took it. He still had to do everything that he did, and he was able to do it. They were able to walk down the field, and we weren't able to stop them a little bit. Um, Couple of things that I noticed that were frustrating. Obviously the slips were a big deal, and the second half run, that 45-yard run that Mahomes did. Obviously, his back was to me at that point. But so I'm looking down the field and I saw what happened. He had the center of the field open. However, Epps had a line on him. And Epps went to go and start that line and he slipped. But not only did he just slip, it wasn't like he slipped and his feet fell out from under him. He slipped and went into a split. Well, I don't know if you guys ever slipped before and had to try to get yourself out of a split. It's not as simple as just, you slipped a little bit, getting your feet back under you and then going after him. He had to get um uh he had to get his legs back under and then try to go after him. and the difference in the trajectory of the line that he would have taken was a difference of 30 yards. It was a big deal. That slip was a monster slip, and it is. You know what I mean? It's just again, these were things that happened. You know what I mean? It's frustrating that we had more slips than they did. And of course, the guy who took care of the turf was a longtime Kansas City Chiefs fan. So you could say whatever you want to about the turf, but again, that's part of what's got to happen. You know what I mean? That the equipment manager for the Eagles should have been way ahead of that. Where you have your guys that are on the practice squad. Trust me, they were there. They were all there. You have your guys on the practice squad, and him trying out the cleats and making sure that everything's working and going out onto that logo and seeing how all that is when it's going there. You got to be able to do those things. That's what the equipment manager is there for, and you have the guys to be able to do it. And I get it. You know what I mean? But these are all things that got to happen. And I learned a lot at this Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, I had a great time. Um, and I had a lot of fun. It was a fantastic week. I want to thank Sammy Draper for putting me up all week long, and dealing with me all week long. She was a fantastic host. Was able to show me the city an amazing time. If you don't know who she is, look her up on Instagram, Sammy Draper. She is not only a beautiful girl, but also you know that said she was an amazing person in general, and I couldn't have done that week without her. Like I said, she really was amazing during that time. I also got to thank Philly Sports Trips for hooking me up with the ticket. I mean, it's like I'd have absolutely gotten in there, but I mean, when you have a company like that sponsor you and do the things that they did for me, it's been an amazing year, and I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I wouldn't have had it another way, other than the fact that I wish we would have won. But things happen. Things happen like that. I think that it's going to be a very interesting year this year. Uh, we have a lot of free agents that we're going to have to re-sign. We're going to have to pick up some free agency. However, the one thing that I am really excited about is that our offense is going to largely remain intact. And obviously, there's Sanders. Sanders is a question that I feel like that some of his comments that he made makes me believe that he wants to stay in the Philadelphia area. So that would be awesome if that's the case. I want Jason Kelsey to re-sign again. I know that he's got 3 girls, and I know that he's ready to become a dad. However, I believe that he is waiting for one of the kids to start to play sports. He's really he's in peak, form. He did not really suffer a lot of injury this year. The podcast, I think, gave him a renewed love of this game. In a different way. I think that he got to connect, and let me tell you, I believe he's a family guy. So I'm not trying to put words in his mouth or say that I know anything about his life whatsoever. But I just feel that with the podcast that he has, and the way that he was able to communicate with his brother all year long, and I think it brought a new love to the game that he's been playing all of this time. And I think I can't say whether he's going to walk away or not. I've already heard rumors that he is not walking away, that he is going to sign another deal, probably a 1-year deal. Um, and we'll see. And we'll see if that really is the case. I hope that he stays. But other than that, everybody else is staying. Jalen Hurts is going to get a contract. I mean, obviously, he's going to need one. And I hope that they get it done sooner than later. I'd like for him to be the one that sets the market, not has to, Not, Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones gets $45 million and becomes at one point the highest paid quarterback in this league is ridiculous. You know, Truth of the matter is that realistically, right now, as everything stands, I believe that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in this league right this very second. And the fact that there shouldn't be any quarterback that goes above him in terms of the pay right now. Till you can prove otherwise, you shouldn't go above him. Now, Jalen Hurts, I feel, kind of proved that in the Super Bowl. So he's going to get that type of money, and he should get that type of money. Now, obviously, he wants to win. So there is thought process that I have is that he is, not only did he train with Tom Brady's trainer, but he talked with a lot with Tom Brady and saw some of the things that Tom Brady was doing throughout his career. And I saw that stat. I saw that stat this year that said the last 17 quarterbacks who went to their first Super Bowl never and lost never made it back. And that streak ends this time. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be back. He just works too hard at his craft to not be back. And I think so I fully expect them to go back this year with some unfinished business, and it's going to be a tougher schedule. It's going to be a lot harder. We have 9 road games this year. It's likely we are going to go to Germany, for one of those games. Um, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Actually, it wouldn't surprise me to see if, I don't think that they would do it like that, but it's possible in a very weird sense that the Eagles could be over there for uh, both Germany games. That because they do play both Kansas City and New England, and I think it's going to be New England that we play over there in Germany, just because I feel that they want to give the Germans the rematch of a Super Bowl. It's just not going to be this past Super Bowl. It's going to be, hey, they played in 2004, they played in 2018. Now they're playing in Germany in 2023. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I think is going to happen. So yeah, yeah. Just I want to. Yes, it was legal. Everything that was happened was legal. I'm not really complaining about any of that whatsoever. The slips were annoying. He may have looked a little high. I'm sure he was shot up a lot. So I got to imagine that that's going to affect you a little bit. Um, yeah, and that's what it is. Yeah, the NFL is going to do what the NFL does. Uh, yeah, they're going to. You know, I have been a big fan of Quez Watkins. And you know, this year I've started to lessen my love of him. I mean, I still love him. I still think he's probably one of the fastest guys on the team, but you got to catch the ball. You just got to catch the ball. And there was really a couple of plays, this season where it just, you know, I feel now we need an upgrade in that position, and that's a shame because I really touted him in a tremendous way. Um, I thought that he would be a little bit better. Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. It's the inconsistency, the fact that he gets a little nervous. I feel like it's nerves. I don't think it's anything else on why he doesn't catch the ball. Like he's open. He had that fly pattern. Or it wasn't a fly really. It was really more of a post, an outside post, uh, or outside flag is really what it was. And you know he dove for it instead of running through it, which okay, yeah, you see it and you're trying to make a play. I get it, but uh, you know, just you need to catch that ball. You need to catch that ball, and you need to catch some of the other balls that were thrown his way. And I'm not even talking about like the interceptions that happened, that were thrown towards his way and stuff like that. I'm talking about the ones that in some cases were there and he didn't catch. And that's, we're going to need a number three receiver. I don't think that receiver is going to come from the draft. I think that this is going to be a pickup from somebody. It's not Zach Pascal that's going to be able to do it. He does not have that type of speed to be able to go far. So you're going to need somebody who's got the speed to be able to get down there. Now, I've heard rumors that Dalvin Cook could be headed towards the Eagles in a trade or something, that he's got a $14 million price tag. That ain't happening. I don't think Dalvin Cook at all. I think that instead of spending $14 million, they would just sign Sanders again. Now, Sanders has got his own set of little bit of issues as well, in terms of the fact that he just don't like playing in the cold. And that was really apparent in the Chicago game. And you can't do that. You got to be able to play in all types of weather. Now, of course, it's easier for me to say since I ain't the one getting hit out there. But you got to be able to do the things that you do whenever. And I feel that game specifically uh, took a little bit off of him. Like I think that he lost a couple of dollars from that game specifically. But I think he wants to be back here. And I'm, hey, listen, we said this about Carson Wentz. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. But if you want to be here, I want to keep you. You know what I mean? If you want to be in Philadelphia, I'm willing to try to make it work. But it's got to work. It's got to work for everybody. We got to make sure. Hey, listen, we didn't do it. We didn't do it this time. We went up against a really good team, and we fell just a little bit short. And now it's time to figure it out for the next time around. You know what I mean? So now, how do we make up that little bit of difference? All season long. I mean, they had the highest scoring offense all regular season. In the playoffs, we caught up on points. Going into that game, we were tied at 576 points each, literally. And so to end the season, 3 points by 3 points is how much they beat us by all season long in the points department. That tells me a lot. That tells me a lot. That tells me that, and the fact that our Eagles are staying the same, that our offensive line is just going to get better now because obviously Lane Johnson's going to be back without, 100% from surgery. We have, I think, still the best offensive line in the league by far. And I know that the defensive line did not come 100% that day, but I still believe that we have one of the best defensive lines in the league. Obviously, when you have 72 sacks or 79 sacks in the year, and I think we only needed like 4 or 5 sacks to be able to break the all time record. Obviously, we didn't get any in the Super Bowl, but that type of situation would have been amazing. To be able to make that happen. And then I wonder what it would have been like if it was Cincinnati that made it rather than uh, Kansas City. I think we would have beaten Cincinnati hands down. I think that their offensive line would have been very questionable. The fact that Kansas City's offensive line. I mean, I was listening to Brian Baldinger, and Brian Baldinger, as smart of a guy that he is, the fact that he, you know, talked about that the defensive line was on the ground all the time, that the offensive line from Kansas City did such a great job. I'm so like normally he gets it in such a way. Like, hey, listen, obviously it doesn't make for good ratings when you're talking about somebody's cleats not holding up on the turf. I get it. But that's what you got to start to talk about, because the fact that these guys were on the ground all the time had nothing to do with the pass blocking of Kansas City. It had to do with the fact that they were sliding, they were on ice, and that was the problem. That was the big problem. So again, we'll see. You know what I mean? It's like I think that we come back next year, and we come back better than ever. And I think we make it right back to where we are, and take care of some unfinished business. So that's what I believe. And we'll see how that all goes moving forward. Next year, do I think Kansas City is going to have as good a year? I guess we will see about that. I mean, obviously, I thought the West was not as strong as the AFC West was not as strong as everybody was making it out to be. I don't think that is going to be the case again this year. I think it's going to be stronger than it was at least last year. So is Kansas City going to make it back? Is it going to be Cincinnati? Is it going to be Buffalo? I mean, there are a lot of different teams over there, or a few different teams. Could it be Miami? Like Miami is actually still listed pretty high. It's just that they may have a quarterback issue, obviously, to figure out. But imagine them trying to sign Lamar Jackson. You know, put Lamar Jackson on that team, and all of a sudden you've got a fairly good team. David Carr is going to be going, or Derek Carr is going to be going somewhere else. Uh, he's slated with the Jets. He's slated. So is Aaron Rodgers. So is Lamar Jackson. Jets are trying to get any quarterback they can that's not named Zach Wilson or Mike White. Uh, so I don't know that that's going to make a difference over on that side. But like I said, the three teams that I think about are that are going to be competing over there are four teams really is Buffalo, Miami, and then of course Cincinnati and Kansas City. San Diego might try to make a little bit of a run. Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh actually takes another step backwards this year. I mean, I know that they went 9-8, and I think that he finally gets a losing season next year because there's just too much that he's got to work through. His quarterback is not strong enough, and I don't think he's got that guy on the roster. And the only way that Pittsburgh does anything is through the draft. They do not do free agency very well at all, and I feel that's probably there's reasons for that. There's teams that draft really well, and there's teams that do free agency really well. Very rarely do teams do both well. The Eagles, for the last couple of years, have done both well. When you think about it, only A.J. Brown is the only guy who was not drafted by the Eagles on the Eagles offense. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I have to give it up to Howie there. For obviously he had a couple of bad seasons once Joe Douglas left. And I think Joe Douglas was his sounding board for a lot of stuff, and they were able to get on the same page. I think he's back on the same page now with the guys that he's got working for him in that office. And I got to meet a couple of them. They're great guys. They do a lot of talking back and forth, and I expect Howie is also unhappy with how this ended. No doubt in my mind. How you can say whatever you want about Howie. Howie's a competitor. He wants to win, and he doesn't mind telling you. And he's got some ego to go with him. There's a reason why that he was the exec of the year. There were a lot of different things. And think about all the players that the Eagles could have had. You know, Jalen Hurts could have been the MVP and then just lost out. Nick Sirianni should have been the coach of the year and just lost out. You know, so many different things that could have happened. He was the only one that really got the award, the exec of the year, because there ain't no other execs that are even like him. He's able to make things happen in ways that not any other general managers are able to do. And that's a testament to him. The reason why that he is, you know, not trusted around the league. I don't look at it. They don't know how to say it. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I think they fear him. I think they fear dealing with him. I agree, Frank. I agree. I feel that he is the best GM in the league. And they say they don't trust him, but they don't know how to say, hey, when Howie's calling me up, I'm afraid that he's going to, that the deal's going to sound great to me, but he's going to win the deal. And no GM wants to hear that. No GM wants to be able to give those types of props up. But he's the one that does it. How he continues to make it happen over and over and over again. And You could say that those couple of bad years. Hey, listen, we'll never get over the Rager for Jefferson. We'll never get over that. But it, I fully expect you won't have that again. I will definitely be up in Seattle next year. No doubt in my mind. Out of all the fan bases in the NFL, besides the Eagles fan base, the Seahawks fan base follow me and I follow them. Uh, I have a lot of friends in the NFL that are Seahawks fans, and I give them a lot of props. So, absolutely, no doubt in my mind, I am going to be up in Seattle next year. And I'm going to maybe even get up there a little early so that I could go have some fun around Seattle. And depending on what time of year it is, if it's like in late December, I may not. But either way, I am definitely going to be up at that game. I like doing Seattle, and I really want to do it again. There were certain things I didn't get to see that I would have liked to have seen. And I really want to go do the underground tour again. There was a lot of things up in Seattle that was a lot of fun, and I think, like I said, this year is going to be a lot of travel. Lot of travel. Like we got far places to go, including, like I said, I think Germany. So it's going to be a lot of road. Now, obviously, we go to Dallas, we're going to New York, and we're going to Washington. Uh, the Carson Wentz less Commanders. No more Carson Wentz on Washington. I figured I should mention that a little bit, but but next year, there's going to be a lot of travel, lots of travel. They said we have to go. We're going to Kansas City. That's our 17th game. We're going to go to New England, and I think it's New England, and so we did the Jets. So is it Miami this year? I guess it is Miami this year. Um, mm, no, it's not Miami. Yeah, where we did Buffalo too. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it. I know it's New England. I guess it is the Jets. I guess it is the Jets that we go to, because we did back to back, but they were the 17th game. That's a different scenario than this. So I think we do go to see the Jets. So it's New England and the Jets. But the New England game could be over in Germany, which is what I think is going to be. I think that that's exactly what's going to happen. I appreciate it, Frank. I appreciate it a lot. It's like I always tell people that I am living the dream. It's not easy. It's not easy. I live out of a suitcase a lot of the time. I get to go to a lot of places. I paint my face, and everybody wants to say what they do about that. But I like to bring a lot of smiles to people's faces, and that's what's really most important. It's not about me. I'm not looking for the attention in that way. I just know that I bring a lot of smiles out to a lot of different people. And I enjoy doing it. Like I said, this is fun. This is supposed to be fun, because if you're not having a good time, then there's no point in doing it whatsoever. So I really do appreciate the fact that you're giving me some kudos there. That being said, we're getting ready to start going to the draft. And I'm going out to Kansas City, and Philly Sports Trips is actually running a trip to go to Kansas City. So, and I know that I got an email about it. Let me see if I got the information on this. If it's in the email, here we go. Let's see. You could go to. It's out there, so you can go to the Kansas City draft. You know, the draft trip from the 27th to the 30th, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So here, I'm going to give you guys the link so you guys can see that. There we go. Bam, done. And put it up here. Bang. Do it this way. Add banner. Bang. There we go. Go with me to on to the draft 2023, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be out there in Kansas City having a blast. I am actually going to be running a poker tournament out there for charity. So anybody who is from Kansas City area, feel free to reach out to me. I need to get some things figured out there. It's been not so simple trying to get a hold of places out there. Nobody likes to answer their phone in Kansas City. So I still need some things figured out. But that being said, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a blast out there. And I hope to see some of you guys coming on this trip with us. Like I said, I hope it's not just me, but you know that I'm going to be out there and doing my thing, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So, uh, but that being said, when we get out there, we do have a couple of first round picks, 10th and 31st pick in the draft. And I'm a big fan of having both of those picks. I think personally that we will trade the 10th pick. I think that we will trade down, and it's possible we're going to trade down because there are a number of quarterbacks that are going to be going out of this draft. When I read all of these mock drafts, and I see, okay, this guy is thinks that we're going to get a receiver, and this guy thinks we're going to get a running back, and you know, the Eagles don't pick running backs in the first round. And you know how I feel about it. I mean, I say the people that you pick in the first round, that is big guys. There's four guys that you take in the first round only. You take offensive linemen, defensive linemen, cornerbacks, or quarterbacks. That's it. Those are the people you take in the first round. Now, I understand there are times when you have like a Justin Jefferson where they're too good of a talent to let pass, especially when you're in that 31st pick of the draft. I can't say for certain that that's what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, the 31st pick is could be a running back or a wide receiver because that's like a second round pick. But I don't think 100%. You know what I mean? I think that you still go offensive and defensive linemen. Those are the guys that you want there. And in the first round, you're still getting high end talent. So I think that you don't need to take a flyer there. You take your best available guy. I think that there's going to be a run on quarterbacks here, and you could absolutely get a steal of somebody who should be um, early first round talent and that will wind up going late because I think that you're going to have a run on quarterbacks, that you're going to see 8 to 10 quarterbacks taken in this first round. So that's why I think that tenth pick is going to be worth a lot, and you're going to be able to see us pick up more draft capital for years to come. And it's no doubt in my mind, especially with Howie, that I wouldn't be surprised if one of those later round picks, like somewhere in the 20 spot, winds up trying to move up to our 10 spot and gives us their pick and then the pick for the next 2 years, first round pick to move up to get a franchise quarterback that they need. So, and again, now when you're in that 20th spot or 20th spot or later, there's, you know, you're going to have to, it takes a lot to move up like that. So that's why that first round pick or two first round picks beyond that might be what it takes. And of course, then they got to be the ones that needs a quarterback. Who do I think could fall into that category? I don't know what Miami, has in terms of draft capital moving forward because obviously they had a lot of picks that they had to give up to get Hill and do all the moving that they had to do. But they're a team that I think could possibly make a move. I feel that there are numerous teams that could try to move up in the draft. Even we're in the playoffs, to be able to make something happen. I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco tries to do something. Now, obviously, San Francisco, they're not natural trade partners with the Eagles, and if they're anything like their fans over there and their executives, then they're still crying about the fact that we beat them. You know what I mean? Because their fans are crying still. Wah, wah. Well, we should have won that game. Wah. If we had a quarterback. Wah. I'm like, shut up. That's what I got to say about that. Stop crying. But they're whiners fans, so they know what's up. That being said, so Lynch is not typically one that would try to give up that much capital to try to get a quarterback, but they absolutely need a quarterback. And I don't know that they are going to, go into the year again and re-sign Garoppolo. Is Garoppolo really their answer? I don't think so. So, you know, again, so there's a number of teams that could probably use a franchise quarterback, including like Green Bay. I wouldn't be surprised to see Green Bay try to make a move because I know they got Jordan Love. Uh, they may want to try to get an offensive lineman up that early, like move up in the draft to try to get somebody really worthwhile. They need some talent at wide receiver because I think they're having a full meltdown of their franchise in total. So uh, we'll see what absolutely happens. Uh, but other news in the NFL. Uh, Alvin Kamara. I mean, I haven't read anything lately, but it looks to me like he's going to go to jail. And that's probably not going to be fun for him for a little bit. Tough to play any games for the Saints when you're in jail. And they pushed it off long enough. It's time to get that worked out. Uh, Saquon Barkley is looking like he's going to be playing for a different team unless they try to franchise him. I don't think they're going to franchise him. I don't think that they want to do that. I think that he's looking for a little bit too much money, and maybe another team will give it to him. But when I think about that, I think of maybe Arizona because I feel like Kyler Murray definitely needs a really big playmaker at running back to be able to help him do what he wants to do over there. I mean, obviously, you know, he they told him to study, 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 and he didn't want to study. So, of course, now he's coming off of an ACL. That being said, so I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to be in a Giants uniform again this year. And the same thing with Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones thinks that he's like a $45 million quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I happen to watch Daniel Jones sometimes, and of course, Sneaky's not here to be able to say, "Oh, he's absolutely worth the $45 million," which I'm not sure if he would or not say that, but I don't think he's worth 45 million, not even by a long shot. So I feel that he's maybe a $35 million quarterback. And if you don't like that type of deal, you do it for 3 years. Listen, it's not like you're going to go broke or go hungry at $35 million. You want to do something better, you do your first, do 2 years. And then, maybe that's what you do. You do 32 million, $35 million for 2 years. You have the possible buyout for year three, or you jump up to that $47.5 million mark. You know what I mean? I think that that's where you would go, um, or get the buyout. You know what I mean? Which is what I think. Uh, Carson Wentz, obviously, and Joseph beat me to the punch on that one here. Where does he wind up? And I tell you, Joe, I don't know that he's going to retire. I firmly believe he's not going to retire. I think he's going to be um, on another team. And you know what? I think that he should wear the backup, wear the backup role. I wouldn't be so surprised, as funny as this may sound, that he winds up in Seattle. I think Seattle is a natural place for him, and he would have his family around him to be able to help coach him some. I think that that's part of what's going on here. That he has been so far away from home that he doesn't, um, I think he needs his people around him. I think he needs his people around him, and he hasn't had his people around him. And I think that's the problem. Like when you have the same issues over and over again, and that's you're right. At what point in his career does is it ready for him? You know what I mean to do that. So I don't know. I don't know. But I think that's why I think Seattle is a good spot for him because it is close to home. Um, and that's why I think Seattle's the better spot for him because he won't be the backup over there. He would be still a starter. And I think that with his people around him, he could possibly be better than what he's been. I feel like that he feels that he's out here on his own. And he is. I mean, he's a grown up. You know what I mean? It's like we're all out here on our own. Um, but I feel like that he is over isolating himself. And I don't think that that's how he's been his entire life. I think that he might have had a little bit of a silver spoon in his mouth, uh, you know, growing up and such. And when you don't have that and you get hit with the, responsibilities of real life, sometimes you're just not prepared. And I think he was not prepared. And I think he's been trying to figure it out and he's been flailing. And because he's flailing, it's not, he doesn't have the people around him that are going to care enough about him to fix it. Obviously you got your parents and you can have your parents fly anywhere. I mean, he makes a lot of money, but you have to be able to you need sometimes you just need your people around. You need to be around your people. And I don't think that he's completely dead in the water. Not yet. I think that he's got some more football in him. It's just somebody's got to help him get it out. And it's not the wife, it's not the kids, it's not any of that. And it may be that that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm never going to say that somebody's family is, you know, the issue on the football field, but I think that he will, you know, that he gets affected by things that happen there. So, do I believe he will get along with Pete Carroll? Yes, I do think he will get along with Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll is, for lack of a better term, an ass. He is an ass. He doesn't care that you are a veteran. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He's going to bust your balls all the time. And I feel that that's what he needs. I think he needs a ball buster. He needs somebody who's not going to coddle him, who's not going to kiss his ass, who's going to get in his face a little bit and create levels of responsibility. I don't think that Rivera was that guy. I don't think that Frank Reich was that guy. I don't believe that Peterson was that guy. You know what I mean? So I feel that Peterson, Frank Reich, and Rivera are kind of all the same in that regards. So I feel that Pete Carroll's the opposite of all that. That's what I'm thinking. That the tough love is what he needs. Tough love and closer to his people. And I think that he's got some stuff left in him. I mean, trust me, I have no love for Carson Wentz, none at all. But I I I kind of wonder and feel how he is doing personally. You know what I mean? Like this, when you got teams saying we don't want you here, and then another team saying we don't want you here, and then another team saying we don't want you here. It starts to really get at you. And it's like truth of the matter is that they tried to move hell and high water to allow him to stay as an Eagle, and he didn't want to stay, and that's what started this process. So now all of a sudden, now you're in Indianapolis, and they say they would rather go 0-17 than have him back as a quarterback. And then you go to Washington and you get benched for Heineke, and now for Sam Howell. I want to say Carson's like 29 years old. He may be touching 30. But I think that like he's still got the arm. He's still got, you know, like I said, he's got the want to make the play. He just doesn't have it. He had it in 2017. Imagine what it would have been like had he finished that season. I mean, we'll never know, unfortunately. But I mean, the whole trajectory could have been different. Could have been different. So, and I feel like that's part of the psyche now. That's like, he that following year when he came back a little early, every pass he threw, he tried to win the Super Bowl, and you just can't do that. And that was the problem. So, uh, and I think that that's the thing. It's like it's a matter of he has to go somewhere where somebody is going to, like I said, not kiss his ass. Because I feel like even when he went to Indianapolis, they kissed his ass, and then when he went to Washington, they kissed his ass. And I don't think you can't have your ass kissed everywhere. Obviously, that's why I think he may go to Seattle. So we'll see. Um, and I think that that is a lot better of a situation for him in general. They are a playoff team. The standard that he's got to achieve, you know, is who was their quarterback? You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting at. Like I can't even think of the quarterback's name, even though I know he's a free agent right now, and he thinks that he's going to be worth $40 million somewhere, which is ridiculous to me. And Geno Smith, that's it. So I mean, the bar is set only so high, so he should be able to go and maybe turn it around some, or at least he'll be really close to home to be able to um, call it a day. You know what I mean? Call it a career and say, "Yep, I got my one ring. Unfortunately, I didn't win it, but you know, it is what it is. I got a Super Bowl ring, and I'm okay with that. Maybe that's what it takes." Um, and then he can go on living the rest of his life as you know whatever he wants to do. But like I said, we'll see if that happens. Obviously, no free agents can get signed here until I think it's still after the combine. I think it's from like the 7th to the 13th or something. You have like a 6-day window that everybody can get signed. So I know that you hear rumors about where somebody's going to go, but nothing affirmative yet because we're waiting for that time right after the combine. And I will say this, I've been touting this guy's name all over the place. If you are a combine watcher, which I am not, the name I want you to watch is Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent, I know that name specifically because I have arm wrestled against his father, and I've been watching this young man's career because of his father. His father likes to post him a lot, and this guy broke all these records in Division II football. He's got a great arm. He's got great football acumen, and the combine is going to be a spot where he's going to elevate his brand to become possibly a top 10 pick. My thought is that he's going to be the number 10 pick. Somebody's going to trade up to get him in that number 10 spot. So, like I said, if you're watching that, watch this kid Tyson Bagent. Uh, he's going to be a quarterback in this league, and he's going to be a good one when he finally gets his opportunity. That being said, The whole hour. I got the whole hour done. Who knew that I was going to be able to go that long, but I had a lot to say. Nobody had heard me for a while, so I'm glad to come back on with you guys. I really do appreciate it. Look for a lot more stuff to come out from me sooner than later. I've got a lot of stuff that's going to be happening around. So, but anyways, everybody have a great night, and as always, go Birds! Yeah. Have a great night, guys.